Questions is the number one job. So
Good evening. If you can hear me, kindly respond. Maybe you
Good
can
evening.
chat. You good? You're good?
I'm okay. How are you?
You're good. You're good. So I want us to give ourselves up to 7:10 because so that we allow people to join. Then you can be able to start in the interest of time. But I want to appreciate you for making time. I'm sure that this is going to be um, a life transforming session for at least one person as we learn on how to align ourselves in the growth within ICT and also cybersecurity. So let's give people the next 5 minutes. Then by 7:10, we should be able to start. Thank you. Also, just participate in the poll, which has been shared, just to encourage that aspect of participation.
Working in cybersecurity as a security operations analyst in the blue team, and I'm going to share with you some of the most important characteristics and traits that you must have in order to succeed in cybersecurity. I also run through some key knowledge and skills you need to build up in order to maximize your capability to get into cybersecurity. First, we need to understand why cybersecurity is hard. You might see a lot of headlines saying that there are not enough cybersecurity professionals around the world to help safeguard companies. You might even be inclined to think that since there's an abundance of vacancy in cybersecurity, it'll be easy to get into. The hard truth is cybersecurity as a field is not beginner friendly. There are way too many things to understand when you're just starting off fresh, such as basic stuff about computers and all the way to security architecture of an organization. This is why a lot of people start their career in cybersecurity by not studying in cybersecurity. Instead, they start off in a standard help desk job in an IT department to build their fundamental knowledge first. This usually consists of understanding how to diagnose a problem on a computer, both hardware and software, and then slowly moving on to getting more exposure to security systems like firewalls and web traffic. A couple of things you really need to wrap your head around when going to cybersecurity is how different systems work. For example, how do you secure a new device like a laptop in your organization? Do you use a cloud EDR solution to monitor it? How do you secure the web traffic and network? How do you go about securing who's able to access this particular device? If you're going to cybersecurity without any of this knowledge and understanding, then you definitely find it hard. In the field of cybersecurity, there are many jobs available. The most stereotypical job that you see in the movies are usually penetration testers in the red team, where they try to hack into an organization with permission to check for any gaps in the security systems. When you're getting into cybersecurity, you won't be getting into this job, at least as your first job. You'll most likely end up as a security analyst working in the blue team. That means you'll be working in the defending team in an organization that helps monitor systems, remediate vulnerabilities, and respond to incidents. Depending on your team, there are times when you're flooded with so many alerts and incidents, and it becomes pretty hard to respond to everything, which oftentimes results to burnout. So does it get better in 2024? Unfortunately, not really. With the emergence of AI, our job as cybersecurity professionals will only get harder. From my perspective, the use of voice AI cloning, deepfakes, adaptive email scams using AI are only going to get better, which means it'll be more difficult for us to defend against. The majority of scams that are actually affecting companies are phishing scams where the threat actor will pose as someone else to either get information from you or steal your money. If you want to learn more about how to protect yourself against this kind of scams, then make sure to check out this video here. All right, so now we've talked about how security is actually hard. Let's talk about the important characteristics and traits you need. If you have this, then you're more likely to be successful in cybersecurity. The first thing you need is to have the drive to learn. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's say you saw a particular news on TV that says that a company has been hacked. Any ordinary person would just take that news face level and leave it at that. But if you're the type of person that gets more curious and does a bit more Googling into why the company was hacked, how it was hacked, basically being more curious about the specific details, then you're one step ahead of the majority of the population. This is actually very important, not just in cybersecurity, because this type of trait allows you to expand your knowledge without any expectation in return. If you're at work and your manager tells you to research on the same piece of news, you probably wouldn't have the same kind of energy as it feels more like work. And once you've completed your research, you probably expect some form of acknowledgement in return, which isn't ideal. If you have this type of self-initiative to learn, then you usually have some form of a passion in that industry or simply a passion to learn new things. In terms of cybersecurity, it's important to learn new things such as the latest technology in the field, cybersecurity news, and vulnerabilities to stay a step ahead of threat actors. You also need to have the drive to learn new skills to add under your belt. For example, if you have been working in help desk in your IT department, then you will need to expand your knowledge to a cloud stack or maybe a particular coding language depending on your interest, which leads into the second point. You also need to understand the technicals for cybersecurity. It's important for you to have a general understanding at the very least of how different security systems work with each other. Following the previous example, if you're onboarding an external laptop into an organization, you need to make sure it's secured from everything. The first thing you gotta decide is if you want cloud or on-premise solutions. Some examples could be using CrowdStrike as your endpoint detection and response solution, IBM for firewall, and AWS for applications. Once you know how each systems interact with each other, this allows you to know which systems to look into when you have an incident. When you understand the security architecture, this allows you to solve problems more efficiently. For example, if a user says their laptop might have a virus, then you know straight away that the first problem to solve is to go on your EDR solution and check there. If your drive to learn is strong, then you might even look into automating your daily tasks. For example, one of my daily tasks was to investigate email attachments such as PDFs. So to do that, I would need to go on our sandbox environment and manually upload the PDFs there so I can open them up and safely investigate. I eventually created an automation which automatically uploads all the PDFs and retrieves all the discovery and sends a summary report to the email. This manual process usually takes me like 5 to 10 minutes to do per email, but since this has been automated, it frees up more time for me to upskill in other areas. The third point we need to talk about is the grind. When you're studying in cybersecurity, you need to appreciate the grind. A lot of times this brings a negative stigma, like every day you're clocked in 9 to 5 and sometimes even longer. And then this ruins your work-life balance, which makes it very unsustainable on you physically and mentally. You need to understand that when you're a beginner, you don't have any experience. The only way to obtain experience is to grind. The good thing is you don't have to grind forever. To give an example, when I first started in cybersecurity, I barely knew any of the security concepts as my background was software engineer. So in order to put myself up to that level where I'm expected to be, I had to grind hard on learning the fundamentals and also how to use our systems such as Splunk, which is a common SIEM solution. One of the things I knew I had to do was to use my own personal time to speed up the learning process. What really helped me to stay consistent with the grind is to be on schedule.
So I want to appreciate each one of you for making time to join. We don't have much time because you have much, but the time doesn't match what we have and what we also ought to cover in today's session. So I want to officially welcome you on behalf of Kenya CyberSecurity and Forensic Association. I am Frederick. I serve members in the association, and also I run a company that provides solutions in cybersecurity, and we are also building. We are using software to build a software solution which is able to provide solution in cybersecurity. Allow me to just make a short prayer so that we can proceed in the interest of time. So let's pray. Lord, we thank you. Thank you for granting us this opportunity to be able to have this conversation. We had planned, but you have made it possible for us to converse this evening. We ask for your wisdom. We ask for understanding and the knowledge as we interact with the young people here, the upcoming professionals who desire to become skilled in cybersecurity and also their areas of specialization. We commit ourselves because we know that you are with us. In Jesus' name we pray, trusting and believing. So amen. Thank you guys for making time again. Allow me to just provide some sort of navigation. So Mohammed is saying, okay. So anyway, so let's proceed. Allow me to just share a few tips which are going to guide us because we don't have much time. So today's session, we want to look at a very critical conversation which has to do with career. How do you model a career in cybersecurity? How do you model a career in IT? For the last 1 month or so, we have seen many of our universities graduating students. And I have had interaction with most of these students and even attended some of these graduation, some of these graduations. I'm even forgetting the word. And you can see the enthusiasm and the inspiration some of them, and most of them have, that they know, yes, we have studied a course in computer science, a course in IT. So we know that we are going to get jobs. And we know that opportunities are there. So there should be no reason why we should not be able to get jobs. But my 15 years experience, especially in entrepreneurship, most of the people, young people that we onboard, either in form of internship or even training and trying to transition, help them manage the transition between when they graduate, when they leave the school, to a point where they become responsible citizens. So we have seen a very wide gap in terms of the knowledge, also in terms of the technical capacity. And there seem to be misalignment in terms of expectations, such that most of our institutions of higher learning, they are not somehow they are not aligning to the demands within the industry. So someone comes, they have a degree in computer science or even in IT, but if you give them a task, let's say a normal scanning of the network, so you expect that they have somehow tried to look for this knowledge, to learn by themselves. But somehow you can see the struggle. The other day there was an interview in one of the telecoms, and I happened to be part of the team that was interviewing. And actually that was one of the reasons why we decided to be hosting a weekly session in the context of career for the next like three weeks or so, because I encountered even people with masters, but they cannot be able to articulate what they have learned. They cannot articulate what they can do with the masters they have already acquired. So someone has already acquired a master's, but they have never written even a single article online, leave alone even a journal or maybe an academic article or something like that. even written a real article without plagiarism, maybe on LinkedIn. You know, someone cannot be able to set up a normal internet information server, which is already inbuilt into the server. And all you need to do is to activate and configure. So you can imagine, and these people or this person, you know, they know that, yes, I deserve to get the possession. But the current dispensation and out of different economic models that we are experiencing, we cannot afford to be somehow to be ignorant, especially for those who are coming out of school and those probably who have been out of school in less than 5 years into the industry. Because what will happen, there's possibility of you getting, you know, into plateau with your growth, and you may not grow. It get to a point where you are so much desperate because, you know, there's so much expectation from home. You have graduated. They have come for a celebration. The next thing they want is they want to see you sending some money back home. But the realities on the ground, they are very much, you know, opposite. You know, there is a mismatch between the expectation and the realities on the ground. And how comes? We have seen a lot of activities happening within the IT ecosystem. We have seen digital transformation. We have seen, like now we have the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, of which ICT is one of the key enabler to actualization of those specific goals. But how come even in the midst of all these disruptions, all these emerging technologies, emerging threats, all these things, they still seem like we are not getting it right. We have Data Protection Act, you know, that created Data Protection Officer. I have seen young people take certifications, but where are these opportunities? Does it mean that you need a third eye? Does it mean that you need someone to hold your hand so that you can be able to take advantage of some of these opportunities? And the more, like now, I think yesterday, I was in one of the bank, and the person who served me, after we had some interaction, I realized that the person I think he did computer science with IT or something like that. Computer science with technology or something like that. So I got interested to know, how come you are working as a teller in the bank? And I'm not saying that working as a teller in the bank is a crime, but how come you have already graduated with a second upper in computer science or in IT, but you find your way into bank as a teller, you know? And because you need to pay to clear bills, you need to pay rent, there's no money. So whatever job is available, so people just take advantage of that. So, but is it, you know, you can see, you know, the president, the minister, they are taking our people to this Qatar and these Middle East nations for some of these driving jobs and all that. And I'm not trying to say that these jobs are not appropriate at all. But if you look at some of the profiles of those people who are going, some of them, they even have masters in high profile courses. So this is what brings us into this conversation, a very open conversation. So we have a few people who are going to share their experience. And I want you to open your mind, open your heart, so that you can be able to learn a number or two. Our intention is, if you can be able to get one person from this conversation who is going to be guided accordingly, and then they package themselves or they reach out for us to walk together that journey, and they get into practice into their area of specialization. If someone has studied, let's say, software engineering, it pains when you see someone who already is very well acquainted to software development, when you find out that they are working in, let's say, as a supermarket attendant. Is it wrong? No, because you need money. But I feel either as a nation, somehow we are not sure of where we are going when it comes to development of careers for our young people within the IT or within the cybersecurity. So we have a number of people here, and I want them to just introduce themselves for a minute. Then we shall proceed along. We are going to start with Gilbert. So Gilbert is going to introduce himself, tell us what he does and why he is in this call or this conversation. We also have, just a minute, I want to confirm if they are here. We have Michael, Michael number 2, then we have Kevin. We had Kate, but currently she is on the road so that we can be able to balance the equation. But we'll be able to just pick a lady from the conversation so that we can be able to feel from their perspective what is wrong and how do you take advantage of these opportunities. So Gilbert, you can just unmute yourself, introduce yourself to the team and tell them what you do and maybe why you are here in this call.
Hello, thank you, Frederick. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you. Thank you for your response. My name is Gilbert Mboya, and I'm here to share, first of all, just a brief introduction. I'm a business analyst as well as a data analyst. I have a degree in Bachelor of Business Information Technology, what you call BBIT. I have a couple of years of experience right now, and I'm here to share my experience, which I presume is going to empower or educate either one or two of us here in this meeting today. I've been a victim of a fraudulent case and a scamming case involving a job application and so on. So I'm here to share that experience, and hopefully it's going to inspire either one or all of us if possible in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilbert. Thank you for making time and agreeing to just be kind to us and share your experience. Let's go to Michael. Michael, if you're there.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Maybe you can add the volume.
Sorry, sorry, I had to step away from the kids.
Yes, there's no problem.
Give me a minute. Let me adjust my volume. How's the volume now?
We are good to go.
Okay. So my journey, if I could just give my journey into IT and how I got into cybersecurity. I originally trained as a database administrator. But when I started my first job, I had some good mentors. They found out that I have a talent for both system and network admin. So in addition to database admin, I can do sysadmin on both Windows and Linux. In terms of databases, the two database management systems that I can manage proficiently are MongoDB and PostgreSQL. Then when it came to cybersecurity, I sunk my teeth in it during my last role. That was as a senior sysadmin at Metropole CRB. For me, it was more of like how cybersecurity works. If I could explain to the guys who are interested and also my peers in the field, I'd say you'd have to know the piece of technology in and out in order to know where the weak spots are now. But I'd say cybersecurity is a very, I wouldn't say huge field, but it's very wide. You can specialize in different areas like securing networks, securing servers, securing databases themselves. You might find that if you set up a MongoDB, and let's say if you set up a MongoDB instance and you don't enable authorization, anybody can access the databases. When it comes to like websites, probably making sure your server headers are not being advertised, or let's say implementing a web application firewall just to make sure that you don't fall into incidences like DDoS or cross-site scripting attacks. So there's a lot now. So, but if you want to go into a field, find where your or as the French say, as it's come to mind, find your je ne sais quoi, like find your area of niche now, because you can't know everything. So that would be my advice to people who want to come into the field. And the last thing, my first mentor in my career told me, don't give up, by the way. It can be very frustrating, but don't give up. No. That would be my advice to guys. No.
So thank you, Michael. Hold that dot. We'll come back because we don't have prepared questions, but you are going to rely on what you are going to share. Kevin, are you there? If you can
Yes,
unmute
yes,
yourself.
I'm here.
Okay, just proceed.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. It's a pleasure meeting all of you. Maybe not for the first time, and maybe to others for the first time. It's a pleasure, and I'm very thankful. As you've been told, my name is Kevin Mugo. That's my name. I've been in the field for quite some time now, and we've been walking through the journey under the mentorship of Mr. Frederick. And even after that, still we have a lot going on. But currently on my side, I'm into cybersecurity also, but also had done some works with regards to data. And it's a pleasure because I'll be able to exchange insights on how my journey has been in the long term, the do's, the don'ts, and how we are expected to navigate through the journey, especially at the infancy stage. Maybe some are trying to find some internships, while also others are in internships, while also even others have maybe some period or some short while of experience when it comes to job experience. So we will be able to exchange ideas and be able to see how people can maybe navigate. How do you network? How do you handle your colleagues? How do you handle your bosses? How do you sharpen your skills? How do you balance tech in the future? And a lot of things, if time allows. So I believe it will be an interactive session, and I'm very delighted to share what I've been able to gain with all of you to the best of my ability. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Allow me to also, I had not introduced the association. So we are Kenya CyberSecurity and Forensic Association. We are currently 7 years old. We started way back in 2016. And how we started, we identified a gap which existed, and we sought to be able to bridge that gap. So in the event of a cyber breach, you have different parties who are involved in terms of response and processing the scene, the digital scene of crime. So for instance, if there has been a data breach, you expect maybe a police officer, because they are mandated by the law to be able to prosecute criminal matters. So you expect an IT person, maybe the one responsible in systems administration. You also expect, maybe if the case goes to the court, you expect to have an encounter with a lawyer. So a lawyer, they are very well acquainted to the legal aspect of the cases, but they are not technical, and probably they do not understand concepts. Another thing, IT people, cyber, the technical people, terminals, they are not well acquainted to the laws. Actually, I know many of you here, you may not be acquainted to the laws which govern cyber and IT in Kenya. We have data protection law. Yes, you know that there is ODPC, that you may not have taken time, maybe even to comprehend. Number two, you have Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act. You may not have maybe gone through it. You have regulations. And number three, we have the police officer. So they respond because they are mandated legally to be able to do that. But they come with guns. Maybe they are trying to seize a machine that has been used to steal or something like that. But they are unable to process the scene of crime the right way. So they tamper with the evidence, they defile the evidence, such that when this electronic evidence goes to the court, they have already tampered with the evidence without knowing, subconsciously. When it comes to the IT people, the report they prepare. I saw the other day a report in the court, which was prepared by an IT person, and they shared a pen test report in the court. You can imagine exposing the organization's loopholes and all that in the courtroom. So, and it's because they are not well trained and they are not they do not have that capacity. So that is why we exist. So when these three entities, the law enforcement, the legal people, and the prosecutors and all that, and the IT, when they come together, somehow they are able to harmonize even their conversations and the way they respond. And the beneficiary is the Kenyan, whose case is prosecuted accurately. So currently, we are also working with Kenya Magistrate and Judges Association, equipping them with the right concept so that if there is a need for them to look at a forensics report, it doesn't sound very weird to them. And one of the things that we are trying also to advocate for is a cybercrime court. The same way we have environmental courts, the children and family courts. So we feel cyber requires to be given the priority and the privilege that it deserves. So the judges who sit in the court, these are judges who are tech, you know, I mean, it's not a must that they are very high tech and all that, but at least they understand, they have some concept, basic concept when it comes to IT, so that we avoid abortion of justice because of lack of capacity. So as we proceed, allow me to just for 1 minute, for 1 minute. So I have shared the PowerPoint. Let's confirm, are we able to see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Good. So allow me to just stay here for 1 minute as we proceed, also as we learn. And if you look at this PowerPoint, this is a presentation that we did to a number of group of young people. And we were looking at some of the reasons why they are not getting access to these opportunities and how for them to be able to bridge the gap between the academia and the industry. And the key thing is the mindset. So most of us, the reason why you are not growing, let's say you are even you have worked for 10 years where you are working, but is there evidence of growth? Let's say you are even into entrepreneurship. Is there evidence of growth? 5 years ago, probably, you started on a briefcase as a business name. So right now, have you incorporated into a limited company? Have you, transitioned from a briefcase to a small office? You used to maybe to serve customers and charge them, let's say 50,000. So have you transitioned into a level where you can now charge them 100,000, 200,000 without feeling guilty? Let's say you are working. Let's say you are in school. How do you approach issues of challenges? For instance, if you look at the growth mindset, and if you are able to install this growth mindset in you, you are going to transition into different dispensations without a challenge. When you are 20, before 30, before 40, before 50, you will be able to manage your transitions in each and every season. One thing I have seen, many of us, we are not able to manage seasons. Why? Because we have not allowed our minds to be able to grow. If you look at the growth mindset, you treat every failure as our brother Gilbert is going to share. Every failure, you treat it as an opportunity for you to grow in that career. Number two, you are able to try new things. We are now into emerging technologies and emerging threats. AI is a double-edged sword, meaning that it has good things and it has bad things. So how are we willing to be able to reach out and even learn how to configure, generate models online? I can learn to do anything I want. That is the growth mindset. That when you face a certain challenge in your career into 2025, have you tried to evaluate why you failed in 2024? Challenges help me to grow. That is a growth mindset. Feedback is constructive, you know, and feedback can be administered in any way. It can be administered as a rebuke. Maybe where you work, in the office that you work, you have developed an attitude where there is no one who can tell you because you know that you know Linux than others, you know how to run terminals. I have interacted with many young people, and this is an attitude that they carry along, that they have not developed their hearts to be able to be corrected at all. So they make a mistake when they are going to make presentations. For instance, they need to be smart. If you try to correct them, they know that, I know Metasploit, for instance, more than you. What are you telling me? So this is one of elements that you have to allow into 2025. Embrace feedback, any form of feedback. If someone tells you, hey, your mouth, somehow do something about your mouth. So you treat that as a very constructive feedback. And the other one is, you're gonna be inspired by others. Do not feel jealousy. Do not allow envy to take root into your heart. And you know, the more you become envious, you are on your way to becoming a witch. So that is the pathway to becoming a witch. So for fixed mindset, you beat yourself when there are failures. For instance, you feel like when you fail on something, maybe you are to do a certification, but you have not done it. Maybe you have done 50 applications. I met another young man. He has done 500 applications of jobs. There is no single job that he has been responded positively. But I liked the attitude that I will continue to do it. In fact, the more they reject me, the more that becomes a fuel for me. So I'm either good at it or I am not. You know, that is a fixed mindset. Give yourself some rooms to fail. You are going to fail. I can tell you 100%. For my 15 years in this career or in this entrepreneurship, I can tell you the number of times I have failed. They are somehow uncountable. If you could have told me when I was 25, when I was starting, there's no way I could have agreed. How can I fail? How? And I know Linux. How can I fail? And I know how to configure Windows Server. So my abilities are unchanging. So you have to allow yourself to be able to embrace new technology, emerging technology. I don't like to be challenged. You know, that is a fixed mindset. Allow yourself to be challenged. You know AI, but you have not traveled so vast into the realm of AI. We are talking of generative. Now we are talking of AI as a service. Allow yourself to be challenged by others. And maybe the last one, when I'm frustrated, I give up. I want to guarantee you, to give you this as a guarantee that you are going to be frustrated. You are going to try if into entrepreneurship, you are going to have the best presentation, you are going to have the best documentations, but you are going to be rejected. Let's say if it's a job, you are going to apply, you have taken CEH, you have taken CISSP, you are even offensive, you have offensive tools, but someone is going to just reject you. They are just going to not to like you at all. And because of that, somehow you become frustrated. But those frustrations are supposed to be a building block for you. You are not supposed to give up at all, because one of a very sure thing is that you are going to fail. That one I can tell you. You are going to make very silly mistakes. But you know what? You have to embrace all that, translate from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So let me reach there and invite Gilbert to just take a few minutes and talk to us, because I know I have a glimpse of his story, and which is, a proof that you are going to fail. You are going to fail, and when you fail, you embrace that as a learning process for you. Gilbert, unmute your mic and just take a few minutes and share with us.
Thank you once again, Freddy. Can you kindly confirm that you can hear me again?
Yes, we can. Just continue.
Thank you. So, failure is an opportunity to grow. That is my first line, just like you've explained in your first slide over there. That is a very great line. So, person, I don't know if any of us here has ever received a message on WhatsApp from a friend of from anyone that you know. He sends you a link. He asks you that, you know what, there's this opportunity that you should apply for. There's a vacancy in this and this, so you just apply for. And what do you do? The next thing you do if you don't have a job is to apply for that position, because the first thing is that it's been shared by someone that you know. So that is the first thing that you do. That is what exactly happened with me. So I received a link and I was asked to apply for this job. It was an IT officer in presumably KCC, Kenya Cooperative Creameries. So that is what I exactly did. I was sent an email address where I was supposed to share my CV, and the first thing I checked was the domain of the email. It was using at kcc.co.ke. So my worries were immediately taken out, because I presumably just concluded that these are legit email address for the company, because it had at kcc.co.ke as the domain. So I sent I sent my CV. I shared my CV to one person. I'm not sure I'm supposed to mention the name here. So he was using that domain. I shared my CV to him, and he responded. It was actually at night. He responded to me and told me that I'm going to speak to you in the morning, because it's a bit late right now. So in the morning, he contacted me now through a phone call, because obviously your CV has a phone number, which is yours, of course. So he called me through that phone number. He asked me if, first of all, I have the Chapter 6 Constitution documents, the EACC clearance, the CRB clearance, the HELB clearance. I didn't have them back then. So the guy organized for me to get them directly from a guy in Huduma Center GPU. So I got the documents and we continued onwards from there. So I sent him the document and he told me that he's going to work everything from there. In my mind, I had no worries. Remember that this link has been shared to me by a person that I know. So I had no worries. I had absolutely no worries in my head, because if anything went wrong, I just say that. But I didn't think of it like that. I didn't imagine that anything could go wrong, because I assumed that the person that shared with me the link was a trustworthy person, and I assumed that this link was absolutely trustworthy. So we continued. The guy, we reached at some point, he told me that we've been shortlisted, a number of 7 of us, but for me to be able to continue, I had to pay some money. They called it service fee, because of the directors, so and so and so. So I just played along with him back then, because as I'm telling you, I didn't have any worries in my head, because it's been shared by someone that I know. So in the end, I ended up spending a lot of money with this guy. But then at the end of the day, it was a scam, it was a fraud case. So by the time that I am noticing this, it was too late. I had spent a lot of money in this, and it was a very terrible experience for me. It was very hurtful, because remember, at that time I had nothing that I was doing. So basically, this money I'm borrowing from people here and there so that I can be able to get the job. It was a very painful experience, and at that time it felt like the world was coming to an end. That is when I met people like Frederick in this case, and I shared the experience with him. And that is where these are the opportunities now that Frederick is telling you that failure comes with growth, because you get to learn lessons, you get to learn You get to meet new people from those failures, and you get to grow from it. What I'd advise you from this story is that, first of all, be very careful. Because personally, for me, I also have some blame on myself because I didn't check clearly if everything was quite authentic. Because when I went to do some digging for the right domain of KCC, I found out that it was supposed to be new KCC at co.ke, new KCC at co.ke. It was not newkcc.co.ke, it is at newkcc.co.ke. So I had my own fault to place on myself. But then you cannot dwell on that. Life has to move on. You cannot keep on saying, oh, I failed, keep on crying on yourself. No, you have to move on. You have to take everything as it comes. You have to pick up yourself, count your losses, learn your lessons, and move on. So that is what I did. Through that, I was able to meet other people in the CA, through Frederick, of course, and I've been able to meet good people through that, because so that those are the little pros that I count from this experience in it all. The whole case was reported to the police, but as you guys know, these things take a lot of time to solve, and sometimes they end up being unsolved. So I tend not to focus mostly on that. I focus on how I can grow from that, how I can do better, how I can influence other people like I'm doing right now here, and educate people on how they should conduct themselves in these cases. Thank you. I'm not sure if anyone has a question. If you do, kindly feel free to ask.
Thank you, Gilbert. Thank you for just summarizing on the issue. It might seem like it's a very simple issue. But I know, because I'm conversant with the whole issue and the whole matter. And when he says that he lost money, he lost serious money. And the question would be, if, there's an opportunity somewhere, and these people ask you to, let's say, share a document, a clearance from EACC, for instance, because it is one of the requirements in that job. For you to get the job, you need to have an EACC clearance, maybe certificate. But, if you are to go the right way, you pay maybe 1,500 or something. It can take a week. But in this case, if you pay 5,000, they are going to fast track the process. And instead of that, 1 week, it's going to take a day. So those are some of the things that somehow our brother Gilbert somehow we can say ignored. But one thing I have liked about the whole scenario is the way, the attitude that he has been carrying through this whole thing. I know if it were most of you guys, I know some of you could even somehow run mad. Because this money you don't even have. You are unakopa from some of these mobile loans, and the expectations are high. You know that you are going to return the moment you get the money. And why are we sharing this specific story? Because some of you, as you keep growing into your career, somehow you may encounter such an issue. And maybe some of you who have not started working and you are looking for opportunities, you need to activate your antennae because possibilities of being scammed are very high. And these people, they are very smart. Like now, they are jobs to do with Germany, Qatar, and they are creating phishing emails. Like now, they registered a domain which looked very, very real. For instance, the genuine domain is newkcc.co.k, but they registered kcc.co.k. And when you have you have a need, a specific need, maybe you are very you are desperate for a job, somehow you can make a mistake without actually without engaging the right mind or the right mindset. Therefore, learn something about that issue. And I want us to Michael had shared about identifying your niche. So we are focusing on cyber or IT. But here comes someone has just graduated. They have never worked in a real environment. All they do is virtual platforms. They have even sharpened their skills. But how do you build your niche? You have just graduated and maybe you passed well in database. So how do you know which areas that you are going to specialize and which is your niche? And number two, which areas that maybe have possibilities of generating a revenue, because you are not just working for the sake of it. So just take a minute so that we go to Kevin as we proceed. Make sure you share questions. I can see questions on inbox. Thank you, those who are sharing. If also you have a question, you can raise up your hand, because the conversation is not for us. It is for you guys, that you can be able to be well equipped.
Hello?
Yes, Mike, you can proceed.
Oh, sorry. So how you'd I'd say how you'd identify your niche. For example, there's this technology called or how many of you guys have played around with let me pull it up. How many of you guys have played with VMware workstations? Or rather VMware Workstation, the virtualization technology, or at least Oracle VirtualBox. So basically, to sharpen my skills in both, especially in server technology, I'd use mainly VMware Workstation because I have my own personal key. Talk to me nicely. It's a volume license, so if you have VMware Workstation, talk to me nicely. I can give you my key. So basically, how I would sharpen my skills is that I would spin up virtual instances of various server platforms like Windows Server 2019, 2022. Right now, I have an ISO for 2025. So if you'd like a copy, I can send it to you. So basically, you'd set up, let's say, an instance of a domain controller or a DHCP server. If it's Linux, you can spin up an Apache web server or an Nginx web server. Then if it's databases, you can spin up an MySQL, Postgres SQL, MongoDB. So basically, there's a good server. It's called Server World Info. I'll post the link in the chat. So basically, it's a website where you can it's a website where you can it teaches you how to set up various services on different server operating systems now. So I'd use VMware workstations to teach myself on how to configure those specific technologies now. Then if you want to know if you want to if you want to know if you're if you want to know if you want to know if you're heading in the right direction, sometimes as you practice, it becomes easier to you. Especially, I usually say in Linux, it doesn't get easier, you get better now. So if you find yourself progressing, like things come easy to you as you practice, you're headed in the right direction now. That's what I'd say now. But find if you're if you're into networking and you want to sharpen your skills, there's a good, I won't call it a virtualization platform, but there's a program called GNS3 where you can simulate network environments. Hell, you can even set up your own MPLS network there. Then tweak your network and security designs. But to cut a long story short, find a technology where you can sharpen your skills. If it's for servers, you can use VMware workstations. If it's networking, then you can use GNS3 to simulate network environments now. Then probably, let's say on a weekend afternoon or a weekday evening, dedicate like 1 or 2 hours to like sharpen your skills now. That's what I'd recommend. Then just before I sign off, join as many forums as you can that are related to the specific interests and technologies that you want to pursue and master. Yeah. That would be my advice.
Thank you, Michael, for that. And well, I agree with you because all these years that we have been serving our customers, one thing that has remained very constant is continuous learning. So we have new technologies which are coming on board. Now we are talking of SASE. We are talking of zero trust. We are talking of digital transformation, secure digital transformation. And if you do not embrace a formula to ensure that you are up to date at all times, then you might become irrelevant. And one thing that we have been able to see across the board, many people who are technical, let's say you start with software development and you program, let's say up to age 35 or age 40. We have seen, and this is a tendency, and with time you shall be able to agree with this perspective. Many Kenyans, they tend to desert their technical skill and start chasing different positions. For instance, someone is very good in coding. Instead of growing in coding, they somehow start focusing on other things like policies and all those things. Is it wrong to focus on policies? No. We need a way to govern all these things. But if you are able to, because if you look at the medical doctors, they somehow never retire. Look at lawyers. We have Honorable Camino. He's now almost 90 years, and he is serving in the court. You know, so if you are technical, the way Michael is saying, if you embrace a foundation of learning early enough, taking advantage of virtualization technologies, containers, then you're gonna somehow identify your niche. And before you know it, you become so good in that and you keep growing. One of the risks we have seen is people platoon. So they know how to do database, they know Oracle, and that's it. So instead of trying to reach out, maybe in master IBM DB2, or even now start shifting towards cloud, or even towards some other technologies. So this is a challenge to you that regardless of whether you're working or not, if you're not working, nowadays bundles are very cheap. You can be able to set up a virtual machine. Most of these interviews, they require you to carry your machine and demonstrate a specific skill, a technical skill. And in as much they are also teaching you on soft skills, you have to make sure these computer science and cyber and IT, these are technical courses. It is good you can do governance and all those things. But if you have a technical skill, you become better than someone somehow who has maybe ignored to grasp as a specific technical skill. So make sure you embrace early enough that aspect of acquiring technical skill and apply continuous learning framework. And that will make sure that will enhance your quality, the quality of your knowledge, and make sure that you are somehow relevant. So for Kevin, how have you been able to maintain your growth consistently? Because I know that you are doing some models in AI, and how can you transition? Someone who wants to transition, they are already into IT, they need to transition maybe into AI or to embrace AI into what they are doing, but they still need to use AI within the cyberspace. I know it's not a very easy question, but I know that you are going to navigate as we proceed. So I think Kevin is not around. I'm seeing, I think he has a network issue. So as we proceed, I can see Anthony, and I know Anthony that I have seen him grow. So maybe Anthony, you can start in for Kevin and just share something in regard to the technical skills. I have seen many people, many of us, we acquire skills in our 20s. We use those skills in our 30s. When we get to 40s, you have developed your network. Then you start now thinking about making money. Is there anything wrong with making money? No. But the problem is that we forget and we even ignore technical skills and we start chasing positions. So you spend so much time in boardroom politicking instead of developing skills, technical skills, and assisting and mentoring young skills which are coming up. So Anthony, if you have capacity to unmute, maybe you can share something as we proceed. So Anthony, still, I think network issues. Allow me to, so we have learned to be very highly adaptable. So allow me to share, this. So just for a minute before we allow others to also converse. So yeah, thank you, Collins. Collins, thank you very much. I'm going to give you a minute so that you can also share with the team. So we have some of best opportunities currently within our nation. And it gives me, it makes me feel bad when I see our young people and even professionals somehow not able to take advantage of the current opportunities. So COVID-19 was a catalyst, which somehow made it possible for us to have most of these opportunities within IT. So one of the opportunities that has been created by COVID-19 is something that we call a gig economy, some sort of like remote working. So in cyber, we have seen an emerging trend where you can be able to work for a company in US remotely and they pay you per hour. So I have someone called Elvis. Elvis is currently working for a company in the US and they work at night from around 8 p.m. up to around 3 a.m. And somehow, on average, he's getting around $1,000 and $1,500 per month. You can imagine. And during the day, he also has some hustles that he's taking. So it is possible for you to consider gig economy. It is there. Gig economy, but maybe you focus on remote work. So we shall be sharing some of the links that you can be able to look at. So we have Data Protection Act. So this has created an entire ecosystem where you can participate as a data protection officer. You can participate to help organizations. I think for a better part of this month, almost 80% of our revenue stream, we are getting it from data protection. Like I think this month, we are assisting at least 2 or 3 companies with data protection compliance audit. How do you do it? You just go online, you learn, you teach yourself, you approach a circle. If you have IT skills, if you are in computer science, you tell them that you have acquainted yourself with the data protection law, and you can help them to come up with some sort of policies. Data privacy policy, you can check one online and you are made. So this has created a lot of opportunities. Try to reach out to their office. How do they work? The ODPC office. so many opportunities. Many companies already complied, and there is a need for them to renew certificates. This time, most of them, they have that need. Reach out to most companies. Go to the ODPC website. Check out which companies have already been certified. Then try to reach out to them. These opportunities will not come to you. You have to go to this opportunity. You have to go for them. And whether you are employed or not, it creates an additional revenue stream for you. And the industry is so big, I can tell you. So there's also aspect of National Data Center at Konza City. Unfortunately, we have politicized, and most people are not able to take advantage of opportunities which are within the National Data Center at Konza City. Sometimes just visit the data center, visit Konza City. I think you just make a booking or something. And when you are going, as we start 2025, we shall be able to reach out to you so that we go as a team, and you shall see the opportunities which are already there. Again, we are talking of blockchain, though the government has not been very keen when it comes to blockchain. So that one, unless probably you do some sort of research for yourself and you come up with maybe a solution. For now, it is not very much applied within the government, but the private sector are already embracing blockchain. It is not a must that you provide a blockchain maybe as a service or something, but you can come in between and provide cybersecurity services within blockchain ecosystem. It is very much possible. These opportunities are not very much pronounced, but you are the one to go for them. You are the one to dig for these specific opportunities. We have spoken of remote working, and maybe the other one is Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act. It has created a lot of jobs. We now have NC4. And one of the regulations for most of companies is for them to establish SOC, Security Operations Center. It is a requirement by the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act. Where do you start? You start by downloading that law, read the law, look for the regulations, look for how you can make a business case, approach a circle, not necessarily in Nairobi. You can go to Machakos, you can go to Kiambu, you can go to Kakamega, because they need to comply, but they don't know. So that you at least try to see how you can participate in all these opportunities which have been created by all these specific laws and regulations. Maybe the last one, we are now into digital transformation. If you look at what the government is doing and you shift your focus away from politics, you are going to know that a lot is happening. Billions and billions are being invested into IT. But how come you have almost zero idea on what is happening? So I see Kevin came back. I want to disconnect. And I see Kevin. Kevin, yes. Kevin, we had asked a question. How have you been able to manage a consistent growth through research? Because you have seen, I have seen you grow into AI and machine learning. And someone can ask, I'm in cyber, I'm in IT, how can I participate within AI and be able to create either a business case or even come up, like have a job or career out of that emerging technology?
That's a very good question. I hope everyone can hear me. Sorry for the disconnect. I think I was unmuting, then the device just got off immediately, but I'm now back. And I was able to capture that question. It's a very interesting and good question that I will cover based on what I have been able to ask. So straight to the point, first of all, you need to understand or know yourself and try to know what is my passion or what do I want to achieve. It may sound like a very basic question or a question that you may not have an answer to immediately, or just a question that you might have a straightforward answer without thinking. But when you take time and think of it, that's when even you'll not only be able to answer that question, but also have more ideas on how you can be able to tackle that problem. So it can naturally, if you maybe take some time to think, it will turn out into maybe something like a SWOT analysis, as usually call it. So you'll be able to identify your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. On the opportunity side, just like Mr. Frederick has given a case scenario, the organizations, the committees, also there are these public hearings that are usually done. What is it that I can also do? You can contribute a point maybe through these public hearings, and maybe you exchange with someone your business card, and something big starts from there. Yeah, so I've seen a lot of opportunities come up through meetup. So I would highly encourage you to do so. But back to the context of the question that I was asked earlier on, that transition and that merging process. So what you need to do, first of all, is to have a plan as the next thing rather. In these two fields, it's like the way you transition from, these days they are called playgroup, up to maybe a higher level or tertiary level of education. That's now the like the high schools and the rest. So you would be able to now have a long, there's the short term plan, there's the medium and the long term plan. So you can decide to start with one, especially because I believe most of us have a foundational background in this. So you can maybe start with a little bit of cybersecurity, build yourself up and navigate through the lines. But also, as you are doing so, ensure that you have a mentor. For example, someone that you can always ask questions. For example, there are a lot of platforms. For example, the ones that you have been told about, the GNS3, the VMware, VirtualBox, and the rest. Get your technical know-how in place. But as you're also doing so, ensure that you have a mentor, someone that you can just maybe, even if it's not calling, just sending a WhatsApp message and telling him or her, hey, today I was able to try this. Here's a small report I generated. What is your thought on it? So from there, you'll be now introduced to how you can improve your reports and your activities. And let us also remember that every day is a learning day, regardless of whether you have a lot of years of experience, whether you are into the field. Every day there is something new that you can learn. You cannot exhaust everything because technology is very dynamic. So it narrows down to the way you have set up your mindset. So your mindset should always be optimistic. And I cannot, because maybe there might be some people who are now like maybe new into the field and the rest. I cannot promise you that the journey ahead will be smooth. There may be challenges, especially maybe when you handle complex concepts. There's also maybe when there are needs that need to be handled, so you might need to pause your studies for a while, your research and the rest. But always have that plan that I've talked about in the back of your mind, and also when you've been able to have someone like a mentor. The third thing that I would say has contributed to my learning journey is something we call a portfolio. So let's say we are in 2025. So by maybe if there are people who have done a few tech jobs here and there, ask yourself, how is it that I can leverage on these jobs as a pitching proof of concept that I can tell people, hey, on March this year, I was able to carry out a data protection compliance for this organization. For example, you might be handling someone, might meet a potential client in the hospitality industry. So, and maybe during a few months ago, you had handled another case scenario of how data protection compliance is done for another hotel or something of the sort. So you'll be able to gain an element of trust, so that even, you remember, as Mr. Frederick has said, that's now where you can start raising your business to start off from, now moving up from 50, 100, and increasing in such a value up to some point where you are even employing others and the rest. So that's now how you're able to do it. Ensure that you have a portfolio, and it's not like everything in the portfolio is presented, because people do not have like 2 hours to go through a report. Ensure that it is straight to the point, very clear, and even as you are presenting it, let it also be professional. And when it comes also to professionalism, yes, you might you might be able to merge these two fields and the rest. But now, when it comes down to very basic things, for example, when you meet people, how is your first impression? Because will you have gained trust or will you have lost trust from the very first minute that you have just greeted them? How do you greet someone in a casual way? How do you greet someone in a professional way? So these are the things that maybe we may not be told that you have not gained this job or this project or this opportunity because because you don't have the skill, but where are your soft skills? How do you communicate? How do you dress? How do you think critically? How do you how are your visions like? So that's also another thing that you also need to polish on. So even maybe if you feel like you don't have that kind of esteem, maybe to stand before people and the rest, try having some virtual sessions with friends, try to have some interaction, share your ideas, be as open as possible, and do not maybe focus on your failures or your challenges, but rather embrace them just like you have been told, because without that inner motivation, you'll not be able to go on. You might listen to a lot of people who have made huge or tremendous steps in the industry, but now when it comes to now your own personal approach, you might not be able to pick things up because you don't have that inner drive. And remember, sometimes it fades away, and it's not a mistake, and it's very normal to step back, so that maybe you can contemplate, you can be also able to gain some energy. Not a lot of people maybe in the field will be able to teach you this, but also learn to reward yourself through each and every step of the journey. For example, your mentor has told you your project is now good, you have now done it to the best of your ability. Reward yourself, tell yourself, hey, you have done this work very well, so this is a reward for you. You know that also that motivation will be able to kick in. Yeah. So, and also when you are trying to get into such a space, especially with regards to the question I've been asked, from my experience, I think there are three domains that you can be able to fit in. The first one is what we call academia. For example, you can decide that I have my undergrad, I've been able to finish. I need to advance it maybe to a master's. Okay. Question is, do you look for scholarships or do you go do a full time? Do you do a part time job and the rest? Depending on your scenario, how your schedule is, and how your ability is, and other factors, you can now decide on the next step to take. So in academia, you will just be more of a researcher. You'll be maybe writing journals, as you've been told. You'll also be guiding people, becoming a lecturer, and the rest. It's a promising job, but it will also depend on your passion, because there are some people who are good in teaching, but not that much good in implementing. There are others who are reverse. There are others who are able to balance both of them. So it's upon you to now try and establish yourself and know which stronghold do I lie, so that I can be able to now meet the client's need to my satisfaction, and also have myself satisfied, because this is something that I'm doing out of passion, because it is a niche that I was able to identify. The second route you can maybe take is to maybe venture into business. As for business, I would highly recommend that do not like be a one-off person. It will call for some good networking. It will call for some good research. Maybe you can, because for example, a person like Mr. Frederick knows how he gets his jobs. He can tell you, I buy newspapers daily. I have a good network of friends. I target this kind of jobs. This is how I quote the price. This is how I build my brand. This is how I manage my staff. This is how there is a lot of dynamics when it now comes into you venturing into a business or
Kevin, check your mic, check your mic. So as Kevin check his mic, I want to request, I have seen a number of questions and we are running out of time, but this is this is version 1.0. So we are going to have version 1.1, version 1.2, and version 1.3. All of them, we want to focus on career and jobs, specifically for the upcoming professionals, and also those who are already established and somehow they feel they are stuck. And the outcome of all these is that we shall be reaching out to the necessary, the relevant ministry with a certain and a very specific proposition to them. So I want to know if any lady is just willing to just even greet us and tell us if maybe they are learning in school or probably they have graduated or maybe they are working, because we have not seen any lady talking and we don't have the panelists we had invited, they have not been able to make for this meeting. So any volunteer lady, you can just raise up your hand and just talk to us. We want to hear you. We want to hear our sisters talk to us. So anyone before I pick randomly? Any lady? I see Rose. Rose, if you are there and you are willing to just unmute your mic, maybe you can just say hi to us. If Rose, you are there and you are willing, we just request you to greet us and tell us maybe what you are doing in terms of career or something like that.
Hi, I'm
Yes.
Rose. I'm sorry, I'm kinda it's a noisy play, but I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Just proceed.
Oh yeah. So I just graduated from Church University with a diploma in business administration, and I'm interested in taking the tech route. So yeah, kufanya degree and master too. So yeah, I think I wanted to do cybersecurity, or yeah, I think that's best according to all the research that I've done. The not is why. Yeah.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you. Considering that you have already graduated and you are looking up to take advantage of the opportunities, just start with what we have shared. Know where the Ministry of ICT is, know where the Office of Data Protection is. And the beauty about it is that they are also regional. So you can pump into any of their offices outside Nairobi and just tell them that I want to volunteer. I want to participate in this and that. At times, you have to, even beyond submitting your CV, you have to demonstrate courage that, you know, I'm here. There is no way that you can ignore me. But the problem with most of us, especially those who are maybe starting off in their careers, they give up very fast and they also fear. So that is one thing that I want us to, that we are advising you Yes, you will do a degree up to master's, but make sure that you have specific skills, technical skills, as well as the soft skills, which are verifiable. If you say you can install a server, you can install maybe a Linux server, you can do it. When you go for an interview, prepare yourself completely. Don't feel intimidated. Maybe you have a diploma, someone else has a degree. There's no difference at all. In fact, that should be an inspiration for you to grasp more technical skills. And when you are given an opportunity to try and demonstrate those skills, you do it as if your life depends on that specific opportunity. So you learn to maximize on opportunities. Go to LinkedIn, so many opportunities littered there. Try them out, make applications, have your CV, have your resume, and going to um, 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 okay, sorry. I see Gilbert is logging off. But there was a question for him. But I think this question I'm going to direct it to Michael. And also I see Jarvis, and I know Jarvis runs a cybersecurity company. Maybe Jarvis, for a minute, you can maybe just talk to us briefly as a young company that provides cybersecurity solutions. How did you find yourself getting into entrepreneurship? Because I know, being there for a number of years, I know it is not easy at all. So how did you find yourself into entrepreneurship as a young entrepreneur, and anyone inspiring maybe to commercialize their skills and start serving customers and getting revenue? How can you advise them? Maybe you can just take a minute and talk to us. If you have, you can be able to unmute.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Frederick. To all members, good evening. I am Jarvis Wahome, the founder of Cyber Organization, one of the best and leading cybersecurity service providers in Nakuru. According to the question that Frederick has asked, I'm still a student and I run that company. My journey into entrepreneurship is that I joined a certain company in Nairobi whereby they were dealing with IT services. But every time you try to tell them that this is not the way to go, the boss sees you like you want to overtake him. So I sat down, I called myself in a meeting, and then I found out that, Jarvis, you're not supposed to be an employed person. You need to become an employer to other people. So I started off just trying to see if I can manage, and I came out with an idea. And all of a sudden, I managed to employ 5 of my other colleagues that I'm working with on, and the journey has been good. Most of my clients we came to find themselves in these networking sessions that have been going. A good example is when I was in Eldoret, where there was this training led by Wamaitha Mwangi. I don't know if she's here. And according to the way I was presenting myself, that is when people realized that this young man has something that is not telling us. And then I came to a realization like, why are we taught in school, in our primary life, on parts of an insect, the 3 parts, the head, thorax, and abdomen? And when it comes to real life, there is nothing like that. We see a mosquito flying around us, we just want to kill it. We see a housefly and you don't need to take that chance to look at the body parts. What about the legs? Now that is nowhere. I came in and I started asking myself, now I need to change up and look for another alternative on how I can change this narrative of parts of an insect. And since God is all on top of us, the company raised up well, and Till now, we are still running and operational, and I thank God for it. Back to you, Frederick.
Oh, thank you, Jarvis. It is such a challenge that you are able to run an organization when you are still a student. So this is a challenge to many of us, where you are somehow you are not sure if you can do something. So currently, so many opportunities, and you can be able to register a business name, and you craft a profile, and you approach a potential customer, especially if maybe you have not been able to secure a job. So as you try to apply, consider entrepreneurship. I remember when we started way back in 2009, it started just maybe as a joke, but uh, almost now 15 years down the line, one thing that I can say is that something that I can maybe be proud of is the impact into the lives of young people, especially. And also, when we meet a customer that we served 2-3 years ago, and they are happy, some of them, they had been breached, they were being taken to a court, maybe we assisted them. So you feel good out of that, such impact. And this is going to flow into the next, because I have seen a question which has been asked by 3 people in the inbox, question about impact. So we are in that dispensation of impact. I'm sure you have heard about sustainability, impact, all those things. So how do you, this is now to Michael and Kevin, how do you make sure or how do you build impact into the career that you are developing, regardless of your level of growth? Let's say you are starting afresh, or you are into 5 years or 10 years into your career or your entrepreneurship. How do you build impact? Because I have seen 3 people ask about impact, and you can just take it as one question. So how do you build impact into that career, considering that irrespective of the skills that you have, your beneficiary are people? So not, maybe you are serving circles and all that, but the beneficiaries are people. How do you build impact into the career and the services that you are providing? And number 2, how do you ensure that this impact also align to things like social development, economic development, targeting a specific society, a specific segment of people? So you have to get it right. Like, how do you build impact into the career that you are developing, such that, yes, you are a software programmer, so what? You can program, even you can build models, AI models, so what? So how does someone in machine learning, how do their lives, get better because you are a good programmer, or maybe you are a good pen tester, or you are a good offensive, whatever? So let's start with Michael, and then we go to Kevin. Take a minute because time is really gone. We were to finish at 8:30. We are now 8:38. I request maybe 10 additional minutes so that you can be able to finish. We still have a number of questions on the inbox.
Thank you, Fred. Personally, in my own journey, how I build impact, I usually try build, or rather, this is something that I do personally. Probably Kevin can agree with me. I usually start by forming the relationship first. Like, for example, I have my own business, like Jarvis. It's called Solstice Technologies Limited. So how I start, let's say, how I start my sales process is that I try to build I'd say it's a long journey, but I try to build a relationship with the client first now, because they don't buy they don't buy the technology per se, they buy the trust that they have in you. So for me, I usually try to find out what the pain points. I try to get to know the person, like what are they doing in their lives. Then from there, I'm like, hey, have you had this technology that? Then once you get the trust from the person, you say, hey, this technology can help your business, can help your business now. Then if they are satisfied with your suggestion, you implement the technology. Then post implementation, you'll be like, hey, how is the technology serving your business? Is there anything else we can do? So I'd say, I hope I've answered the question per se, that how I build impact now. Don't go straight for, don't go, when you approach a client, don't say, hey, this technology will help your business. Like, let's say if you're experiencing DDoS attacks, you're like, this technology will eliminate it. Sometimes closing a sale will be as simple as, hey, will be as simple as, hey, how is your day? Or rather, how was your day? Or let's say, how are your kids doing in school? So I'd say start with building the relationship first, then everything else will follow from there. No.
Wow, thank you for that. I can attest to that because many times, most of businesses that we have gotten, they started as just a normal conversation. And that is one of the things that we have really embraced as one of within our value system, that we try to go beyond the issue of generating a revenue from our customer, especially when we are responding to cyber incidents. When the customer has been breached, the other day, a customer was breached, and they requested us to first cancel their board members. Is a company owned by some senior men, like in terms of age, and they were so much stressed by that issue of cyber breach. We had to look for a professional counselor to come and talk to them, and guidance and counseling. It is something that we have never done, and we did that without charging them. And after that, somehow they approved us assisting them to be able to work with them. So I agree with you. Unfortunately, many people, they just commercialize their services. They commercialize the interaction. And at times, even just taking someone's number without you asking them, oh, can we get business card? No. At the right time, probably something might show up. So Kevin, what do you have to share with us? Check your mic. Maybe your mic has a challenge. Kevin, if you can hear, maybe you can increase volume. So these are some of the challenges with technology. It is a pain point, which can necessitate an innovation, no? So I think because Kevin somehow, his mic has a challenge, I don't know if Collins, if you can be able to unmute and just share with us for 1 minute in the context of a mentor, the necessity of a mentor. I have interacted with many people, many young people, and most of them, they don't see the necessity of a mentor until when they face a serious challenge in their growth. And that's when they run to someone and say, oh, I want you to be a mentor. I want you to be this. But that is not the right way. So Collins, if you can be able to unmute, I'm not sure. Would you share with us for a minute, what are the necessity of a mentor, and how do you identify a potential mentor who can be maybe a blessing in your growth?
Thank you very much, Frederick. Mentors play a very important role in just shaping an individual's career. In my own experience, I've been very lucky to have mentors who have guided me in the field of cybersecurity. I went to school in Strathmore, and in Strathmore, there's this mentorship program whereby you would be basically matched with an individual who has experience in your areas of interest, and then they would guide you in your career. So I was very lucky when I was in Strathmore to be guided by Dr. Sevilla, and he had a lot of influence for me to get into the cybersecurity field. So a mentor basically plays an important role in opening up opportunities for you in the case that on the sense that they can basically advise you on on the areas where you can grow. I personally have now a mentor who I pay every month, by the way. Yeah, it's a paid mentorship just for me to take it more seriously. And what this mentor has been doing for me basically has been to guide me into building a career, I would call a career strategy, which I've been following for the last, say, for the last 7 years. So it's very, very important to look into, or to identify an individual who is willing to spend their time with you, and also to invest their time and build your skills, someone that you are free with, and someone that can basically identify your strengths and your weaknesses. I've just been given 1 minute, but if you'd want to connect, please connect with me on LinkedIn, Collins Odur, and we'll be able to discuss this more. Over to you, Chair. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Collins. Thank you for that. One thing that I'm 100% sure is that there is no one who is self-made, never ever. In this entire universe, you can never be self-made. And yeah, someone can challenge this somehow based on their current level of maturity or growth. But as you keep growing towards your 40, towards your 50, that phrase that life starts at 40, it becomes a reality. And you are going to make so many mistakes. You know, you are not exempted from making mistakes in your career. The other day, someone reached out because where they are working, they have impregnated a lady. And, you know, they are almost getting interdicted, you can imagine. And everyone now knows what the person has done. And, you know, yes, you can judge that person. But these are challenges that will show up. You know, as long as you are made of flesh and blood, these challenges are going to show up. And therefore, there is a necessity for a mentor. And if you don't have a mentor, I want to ask you, like Collins, I've already volunteered to work with someone. That is very kind of you, because I know, you know, the person that you are. Reach out to LinkedIn, check him out. Don't assume that he knows that you met in a call. Introduce yourself, you know, without that sort of self-entitlement. Introduce yourself. You met on a call which was organized, and he was given an opportunity. And the same way that Collins have spoken is the same way I got access to one of my mentor who has really assisted me in shaping my mindset. I never used to be patient, but I got to a school of patience, which, you know, has now run for almost 10 years, like learning how to be patient, just being still in the midst of storm. And if you do not have someone who can be able to call you and probably correct you and maybe rebuke you out of something that you are doing, know that you still have a long way to go. You are an accident that is about to happen. In that job, you are going to mess up. And you need someone you need to have access to someone. You can run to them and tell them, okay, I have messed up. So what do I do now? and they are going to pick a phone call and just a single call, and things are sorted out. In entrepreneurship, you can have a mentor. There are mentors that is not a necessity for you to talk to them. You just follow them. Maybe they can inspire you on a certain specific element. The mentors don't expect that they have so much time for you. And there's no day that you are going to run out of necessity for a mentor. Even when you get to 80 years, you still need a mentor. When you get to 90, you need a mentor. When you marry, you have never married, you know. So you are going to make a mistake. And, you know, one of the constant that I have learned in our growth in these fields is that mistakes and failing is a constant. As an angel investor, we usually embrace some startups. So someone comes with an innovation. We try to look at it from different perspectives. And one of the key things that we look for is someone who have failed. So if you have not failed, but you have a very good innovation, somehow we shy away from trying to invest in you. Maybe you have failed in your school, you did something, a very silly mistake or something like that. We know that you are not innocent for life, but let's say you have never made a mistake. You are very innocent for this life. You are going to encounter a challenge and you are going to run away because you have not gained experientially on how to navigate different landscape of challenges. So because of time, I want to appreciate everyone. This is the first session and I'm feeling so good because I know someone is going to get a mentor when they go to LinkedIn. I know someone has already joined our public group. So if someone's life today can be transformed, then we have fulfilled the agenda of our today's session. So I want to give Kevin just maybe less than a minute as a closing remark, and also Michael as we proceed towards finalizing on our session. Kevin?
Yes. Can you now hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
That is good. I think there were some changes along the way, but I'm happy that for the few minutes that I was able to share my insights, we've been able to create some impact. I will also, and Mr. Frederick, in case there's anyone who would like to connect. I can maybe do so via my email in case there's anyone who needs to connect. So I'll just type it on the chat box, but it's just sharing some thanks and gratitude for holding on to the very end of this session. I can see that the numbers have been a little bit constant. So that shows some clear indication that there's been some commitment along the way. And we'll be meeting in one more session so that we can be able to exchange insights along the way. Yeah, thank you very much. And I appreciate all of you for the great sacrifice that you have made. Asanteni sana.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for your willingness to share with the team. I know someone has been inspired and they are going to reach out to you. So Michael?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, proceed.
Apart from short to the group, I'd say I'd give this word of encouragement. If you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're probably right. If you think you can do something, wait for it. If you think you can't, then you're also right. You are who you say you are. Then the capability and all of us of encouragement. I mentioned in the beginning, don't give up, but I know it's cliche, but another word of advice would be true to yourself. Be true to yourself. As in, don't pursue something because you think it's cool. Don't pursue something because it makes a lot. Just pursue something because you have a genuine
So thank you, Mike. We had a poll, and I can see that out of the options that we had, the option that many people have chosen, misalignment between academia and the industry. So what you do with that consciousness, if you are in school, ensure that you build your skills, your technical skills. You can complain and even blame lecturers and even the curriculum that you are taking. But the reality is the school is not going to teach you what is within the industry, apart from just a few of them. So with that consciousness, set up a virtual machine. You can just pick up something like VirtualBox, try containers, go online, check out the cyber trends for 2025, the emerging trends, the emerging threats, the emerging technology for 2025. Try to see how you can be relevant in that conversation, and try to know how these tools operate. Do not just know the tools by names, but try to set them up. Try to understand as much as possible. As you do that, you are adding value to yourself. It is the value that is going to attract potential customers and potential employers. I have seen people being hired without even an interview. So someone just meet them just by having a conversation, the first impression. They have developed their confidence. When they talk, they are conscious of themselves. They know how to dress themselves. Now in IT or cyber, drop that thing of geek. Unless you are doing your own things and softwares and all that. If you know that you need people, there are things that you have to drop as early as possible. So the geek mentality, that is maybe for conferences and all that. But if you are going to go to an office, maybe for an interview or something like that, you have to know how to dress, how to talk. When someone calls you, maybe for an interview, the way you address them, you don't tell them sasa. They are WhatsApping you or sending a message. You don't just say hi. You learn how to say, hey, good morning, sir. Good morning, madam. So these are small tips that are going to open a specific and a potential door for you in 2025. With that, we are going to meet next week. I think next week, it is going to be on 27th after Christmas. So whether we'll have one person or 10 people, we will still have to converse here for the next 3 sessions as we build momentum into 2025. So I want to wish you well, wish you the best. Christmas, if you do not have, maybe you don't have money, don't worry, don't kill yourself because unapata mfuko haina kitu, M-Pesa haina kitu. Just relax. We need you very healthy in 2025. And may the Lord quicken someone and become a blessing to you. Thank you very much for attending this session. You can check out on the group. I have shared a link. And asanteni sana. Have a great evening. Bye.